What's going on, guys? Gas Station here for FEE3 2016, and today we have the Primefusion interview. So in this interview, I've asked my community on YouTube to ask questions in the comments section to Primefusion regarding the Road to Ruin for his FEE3 interview, and we actually raked in a lot of nice questions and some jokey ones, but we're all going to go through them for this interview. So Prime, in case people haven't caught up yet, what is the Road to Ruin?
So the Road to Ruin is a Fire Emblem 7 mod, and it centers around a group of mercenaries, particularly leader Vance, and it's kind of a story of how their group gets caught up in this war that eventually spans like a majority of the continent, and it's kind of like how the they get caught up in the shifting politics, and there's like some side conflicts that like are involved, and they go deeper than what they appear on the surface. So it's just them like trying to find their way through all of that.
I see. Interesting stuff. Yeah, it's really interesting how the Road to Ruin sort of starts off like this kind of these like I don't want to say jolly, but like these mercenaries who are doing their job, and they get like slowly like deep into this huge political and then dark mysterious conflict. So
yeah,
I mean it's usually how Fire Emblem stories go, but it's still I think yours is pretty well executed so far for the 10 chapters or 11 chapters now that I've played. And the next question is, when is the next patch and how long will it be?
So the length question is easier to answer. The final chapter is chapter 20. So that'll make the entire mod 23 chapters long. As far as when that's going to come out, it's kind of a toss-up. I'm not sure yet. I think I had like originally planned on releasing it at FE3, and then stuff happened, and you know how it goes. Things happen, and so that's not going to happen. I'm looking at maybe Christmas release. We'll see.
Wow. So you must have been making a lot of progress since the patch, the last patch then.
Yes. Well, the last patch came out in like what, 2014, I want to say. So
oh, wow. You keep it low key, man. No patch in 2 years. You're just running through it.
Yep, that's how I roll.
Yeah. Well, it's really impressive that you're aiming for 23 chapters. It's already very impressive to even be at 11.
13 is 13. What the current patch is.
Yeah, 13. To those who don't know, the average amount of chapters, I'd say, for unfinished mods or currently active yet unfinished mods is probably around like 8 or 9. I guess if you round them all out, probably like something like that.
That even sounds like a highball to me. I would put it down at like 6.
Yeah, it's hard to keep up with these, but it's very commendable that you are at 13 and you're aiming for 10 more.
Yeah, well, I've been at this for a while, so.
How long exactly?
This mod actually started way back in 2009, if you can believe that.
Jeez.
Yeah. So, but it's kind of like working on it off and on while I was going through school and whatnot. So that's why it's been so long. Yeah.
So everyone has a motivation to start their own Fire Emblem story or their own story that is executed through Fire Emblem or video games in general. So what was your inspiration behind this project, or what inspired you to begin this project?
Well, I think it's probably pretty typical of a lot of modders, but like you like the game a lot and you wish you could just like make your own version that's like same mechanics but your own story and whatnot. And so I just wanted to learn how to like make my own map and put my own dudes on the map and have them duke it out. And that just kind of like evolved into, well, here's a story idea that kind of like popped into my head while I was making this map. And then it's like you start to flesh out that idea over time, and eventually it becomes like this is a project now, not just a one-off thing. So
one question from the comments is, what Fire Emblem games inspired you the most to make this hack? Secondly, were there any non-Fire Emblem games who did the same thing?
There gameplay wise, there's a lot of genealogy of the Holy War and
I
Radiant Dawn. As
Radiant
far as
Dawn.
yeah, like splitting up the Cavaliers into like mono weapon types,
Hmm.
and then like there's also switching perspectives. Like you play on like from Aaron's perspective for a couple chapters, and you leave the main group basically. That's very Radiant Dawn-esque.
Right, you're right. Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't know about story-wise if I really draw a lot of inspiration from any one particular thing.
It seems more like it draws inspiration from the just general themes of Fire Emblem in the sense that it's very politics oriented.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah,
most FE stories tend to be is politically oriented.
right. Yeah, that's definitely true.
Yeah. The old pretty chill beginning, deeper into
Hmm.
politics, deeper into magic, dark magic and stuff like
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
Next question. Is something or someone in the Road to Ruin that is inspired by real life things, either in regard to you, the community, or anything else?
I actually make an active effort to not put stuff from like my personal life into the mod because I don't want it to come across as like too fan fictiony, or at least like I don't want it to be like bad fan fiction basically. So I tried to like really avoid putting personal stuff in there.
So no self inserts. That's what you're saying.
No, no.
That's ridiculous, Prime. Every good hack is a self insert.
No, Vance is not really like me.
I'd
A
say
little
the
bit, but like not that much.
I'd say the person who's closest like you, based on what I played, is probably Buck. I'm gonna say Buck. Very chill, very relaxed, very amicable.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, Buck is probably closer to me than the main character is.
yeah. I like to think of myself as a Kristoff.
Yeah, yeah, Kristoff is probably pretty close to what you are.
And another question is, what would you say your favorite kind of map to play is?
Hmm. I actually really like survival maps. Just kind of like that feeling where you're you're kind of like backed into a corner. You're trying to like give it 110% to make it through. Everything's getting down to the wire. You're spreading yourself thin to like
Mm-hmm.
plug up all the holes in your unit wall and whatnot, and just like right as everything's about to give out, the chapter ends and you emerge triumphant.
Yeah,
That's what I like.
yeah, I agree with that. I find it's very like I feel like the funnest sort of chapters are like survival or defend because
Hmm.
um, I feel like there's not a like there's obviously mistakes you can make, but I feel like some of those mistakes can also be sort of excused for being intense. I don't know.
Yeah, because like
I feel like the margin of error for making survival maps is like is bigger than like capture maps or
yeah,
stuff like
because it's
that.
like survival is kind of like intended to back you into a corner and like challenge you and whatnot,
Yeah.
because the stakes are high on that particular
Yeah.
chapter.
I also find it pretty fun to just design those kinds of maps.
Hmm.
You're right. Yeah.
So it probably doesn't surprise you that like chapter 10 is probably one of my favorite chapters in the mod, and
It's
that
pretty
happens
fun.
to be a survival one.
Yeah, I like that one too. Did you get any inspiration from Path of Radiance to have your character be a mercenary?
As much as I like Path of Radiance, I'd have to say no. Um, I mean, like, Vance and Ike might be sort of similar personality wise, but I definitely didn't actively be like, I'm gonna use FE9 as my base.
Yeah. I don't
So,
really find like even to be that much of an interesting character, to be honest.
well, he's definitely more interesting in FE9, I feel like, than
Yeah.
FE10.
FE10 he's sort of just like chilling,
Yeah,
doing stuff he's got to do.
yeah. So,
Oh, the Black Knight's still alive? Damn, I should probably get on that. Might be a good idea. How did you come up with the story for The Road to Ruin?
well, like I was saying earlier, It was kind of like I was messing around with trying to just like make a chapter. And it was kind of like, oh, here's like a story idea, and here's another story idea. Well, if I make like two maps, how would I connect those together? And then it kind of just it sort of evolved into like this political struggle of a story. Um, yeah, it was very much like the story emerged as I learned more about modding.
Mm-hmm. I feel like as most video game stories do, or modding stories do, where you learn some new sort of cool thing you can do, and then you try to incorporate that new cool thing into your story.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. How long did it take you to complete the story? Does that mean arc wise? You think?
How long did it take for me to like complete the story? I wouldn't even say like I have the story nailed down all the way, even though I'm like working on the final chapter right now. Like there's still things I want to go back and change to like make it flow better or make more sense or just be like more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the majority of my story is now complete, and it's been complete for like 3-4 months maybe.
Oh, nice.
Um, so I don't. So I guess that's like 7 years it took me to get most of the story down.
Better late than never. Never dead, always
I'm
underground.
a slow but steady type of guy.
Thankfully, your gameplay does not reflect that.
Yeah,
Okay.
I definitely don't want a 30 chapter mod. That's just too much. I actually originally wanted it to be 10 chapters, and then the story didn't fit 10 chapters. It was too much. And
Right.
so then I was like, well, maybe I'll make it 15 chapters. And then by the time I got to chapter 15, it's like, definitely not enough space for
Yeah.
this. So that's why it's like ends at 20 now.
Fair enough. So The Road to Ruin as a title, even after playing up to chapter 11, I'm sort of starting to understand why it's called The Road to Ruin, but I won't try to take any guesses here. So how did you come up with that title?
I think I'm trying to remember. It might just be a product of younger me being like, that sounds badass. I'm gonna put that as my title. And then later on, it's like, as I thought about more about my story, it's like I could actually make this title work. And actually like, now I'm trying to. There's like an underlying theme, that goes with the title.
Yeah, I agree
So
with that. Seems like it.
from humble beginnings, I guess we'll say.
Yeah. As all good hacks do. It's interesting to actually just kind of reflect on all of the very standout ROM hacks and fan games out there, is that they always sort of had a first draft that they put out there hoping it was good, but they
Hmm.
just got kind of lambasted,
Yeah.
or they've gotten harsh criticism. And it's the ones who bounce back from that and who stay motivated through it that still stand strong. There's been so many projects upon first release that were just awful, like just
Yeah.
not good. Like I heard Midnight Sun was brutal when it first came out. I'm sure The Road to Ruin. I mean, yours wasn't even like yours was an extension of FE7 when it first was released,
Yeah,
right?
so like the first release of Road to Ruin was like it had the original cast, but I like rebranded them basically. Like I gave them different personalities and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And like I made Elliot just like a mage. Like he wasn't a lord or anything like that. He was just like a mage in the army. And like and then like Kent was like a freelance mercenary. But yeah, and then I kind of like thought about it. I was like, well, I'm already giving these people different personalities and whatnot. Might as well just go the full meal deal and make instead.
Yeah, yeah,
Like the groundwork is already there. Might as well just go all in.
right. Of course. Um, yeah, and even Staff of Ages was kind of mediocre when it first came out, and now it's one of the better new mods out there. And same with Bloodlines. I don't even know if I still have my first release of that. I hope I do, because man, that was bad. It was
I
so.
remember you getting like a lot of backlash for having a dog, and now
Oh
it's
yeah,
like,
people still don't like that, but I'm just like, um, not to like uh stray too far away from the topic here, but um, I at this point, it's just I feel like my style has sort of just become I don't care. I'm gonna do this, and it's gonna be great. It's just
Yeah.
gonna be. It's gonna. It's what people expect of me now. These crazy over the top things that like are just so dumb and like from someone else's perspective looking in. It's just like, what is this guy thinking? Like
Yeah.
what? It's that kind of thing. It's just like that's sort of like the style I want to keep rolling with. It's just totally out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, like that's what makes these projects so charming is that each one has something to offer, and it's the diversity of the really quality mods out there is just it's very interesting to play through one, and no one hack feels the same as another.
Yeah. And then like looking where they came from and where they are now.
Yeah, it's like
So
you have to go through that phase of mediocrity before you can climb up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think any hack has. Maybe like Sacred, what was it? Requiem. Seemed like the only one who just kind of came out and was like, "Oh my god, this is great."
Yeah. It's like I'm done already. Cool.
Yeah. Anyway, let's get back here. Oh, this is an interesting question. What will you do when you finish this? Will you move on to another FE hack or make an original RPG game?
I don't think I have it in me to do another FE hack. Like this one's already 7 years and counting. I don't want to do another 7 years of modding.
Yeah.
Though I have been like casually tossing around the idea of doing like a low-key casual Pokemon hack. But we'll see.
Interesting.
I think I'm just gonna like catch up on my games backlog instead.
That's also very good too. So no plans to make an actual RPG game?
Not right now, no.
Not right now. In terms of development, what hacking tools do you use in the creation of the Road to Ruin?
Pretty standard tool belt, Vent Assembler, Feditor, Nightmare, GBA, GE, FE Recolor, and the BS palette inserter when I want to do battle palettes. I use a lot of Notepad++.
That's a vital one.
For typing up events and
But let me
scripts.
ask you this. Are you Team Mappy or Team Tiled?
I am actually on both teams. I swap between them. No shame.
That's a lie. You're a Mappy boy.
Oh no, I use a lot of tiled too. I go back and forth. I'm actually a little more tiled these days than I am mappy.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then my hex editor of choice is HXD.
And another dev question, which I guess based off this answer is going to be pretty expected. Does the recent expansion of event assembler tools affect your work on the Road to Ruin at all?
As intriguing as they are, I have not looked into them yet. And like since I'm in the middle of development, I don't want to shift my tool belt all of a sudden.
Right.
So no, they have not affected me.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like it's going to be. Yeah, I've delved into a few myself, but
I honestly feel like you're either gonna like, if you're in the middle of development, you're gonna stick with what you've got, and if you're gonna start a new project, like maybe just try checking out the EA way of doing things.
Yeah.
But swapping in the middle of everything could get weird.
Yeah. What is the worst thing you've come across doing this game?
I'll tell you what my least favorite thing is, and that is playtesting. I really do not like playtesting, and that is like the #1 buzzkill of motivation for me. I get frustrated, like I get frustrated like playing the same thing over and over again and just like tweaking it and then being like, well, it's mostly the same except for like this tweak.
Right.
And so yeah, playtesting is probably the worst thing I've come across.
I can understand that. On the flip side, what's your favorite part about making a ROM hack, making new characters, story, yada yada yada, etc.?
My favorite thing to do for ROM hacking is constructing scenes, like the opening scene of a chapter or the closing scene or like something that happens in the middle. That's actually my favorite part. It's like scripting out, who's gonna pop in where, who's gonna say what, how long is this pause going to be? Like, do I want to pause longer for effect? Do I want it to be short and sweet? I actually really like constructing scenes.
And this is an interesting, funny one. What made you decide that Hugo would like Pegasi so much?
So I don't. So Hugo doesn't really like have any sort of obsession or fascination with Pegasi. It's just like his uncle. I think his uncle's name is Bo. Told him about Pegasi, and Hugo, it just being Hugo, is just like, yeah, I heard about these Pegasi folk.
Hugo.
And it's just, and then Tori happens to be there, and so that's how he joins the team. He doesn't really have any sort of like fascination with them.
Right. You should have given him a split promo. Make him a male Pegasus Knight.
Male beefy Pegasus Knight.
That's like a thing in modding. Is everyone needs a male Pegasus Knight these days?
Yeah,
Break the
Hugo
mold.
can be like this buff hillbilly mountain man Pegasus rider.
Yeah. My man enough for ya. Yes, Hugo. These growths of yours say that very much so.
And that con.
Yeah. And this is a more, and this part of the interview is reserved for the funnier questions that were asked. First one being, what's your deal and why do you never update?
I like to fly under the radar. That's how I roll. I keep it chill. I don't like to work under pressure, and when I update, I kind of feel like it makes pressure, and I'm not all about that. Just not.
Very chill, as Buck would be.
Yeah.
Why are the palettes so sick and effing awesome looking? Question mark, question mark.
Well, I like colors. I like pretty colors, and I just like to fiddle. Like I'll start making a palette, and then I'll start fiddling with it. And I'll fiddle some more, and eventually it's like, this is good enough, and I'll put it in. And apparently people like my colors, so
Yeah, they're really nice. They're really nice colors.
well, thank you.
How daddy are you?
34%.
34%. I'd say you're more uncle than daddy.
Well, I'm your uncle, right?
Yeah, you're my uncle. This one's interesting. May I nestle in the warm spot right between your shin and thigh? That would be greatly appreciated.
I think my girlfriend might have something to say about that, so I'm gonna have to decline.
Fair. Anyway, those were all of the questions that were asked in the Ask Prime, Reply to Prime video that I posted on my channel last week. Prime, just want to say thank you so much for, first of all, submitting the Road to Ruin, and then also offering to do an interview for FEE3 2016. It was greatly appreciated.
Well, thank you for making that question video, and I'd also like to thank everyone that asked questions. I actually wasn't expecting very many, and there were a lot more than what I was expecting. So thank you everyone for that, and well, thanks for interviewing me. It's funny, like I think every year I've entered FE3, I'd be like, yeah, I might do an interview. Oh, I might do an interview this year, and I think like this is the first year I've actually done an interview.
Maybe.
Yeah, this is definitely the first year I've actually done an interview for FE3.
Well,
So,
great. Great. I think it was very solid. Yeah.
life goal checked off.
Yes. Bucket list, good. No need to do anything else in my life. Anyways, I'm Gas for FEE3 2016, and we'll catch you guys in the next video. Have a good one.
Peace.